Who are the most impactful coordinators to the 2024 college football playoff race? I'm not just going to throw a list at you. We're going to rank them. All right, 5 to 1. We're going to rank our top 5 most impactful coordinators to the college football playoff race. Want to start with an honorable mention. D'Anton Lynn from USC was a defensive coordinator. I'm just not convinced that defensive personnel is as bad as we saw last year. And if you've watched this show, you've heard me say many times, like, I don't even know what to make of the USC defense because they weren't even aligned properly half the time. Like, they weren't even fitting inside zone correctly. Like, we're not even able to be in the right phase in man coverage. And so I think USC, the caliber of player they've recruited, it may not be like up there with the Georgias of the world, but I don't think that it's necessarily quite as far behind as it looked last season. And so I'm very curious to see how much of a change do you get when D'Anton Lynn adds into the fold calling that defense with Alex Grinch now out of the picture. Remains to be seen. The reason why I don't have him higher on this list, why he's an honorable mention, I'm curious about Miller Moss in the offense. Not doubting, just looking for more answers. Now, if they beat LSU week 1, that would probably bolster some confidence, but I'm curious to see what he ends up being. We're doing our very best here to not fall victim to bowl syndrome, which bowl syndrome is just our verbiage for trying not to read too much into a bowl game and make some overarching opinion on the upcoming season off of 4 quarters of play. So we'll leave it at that. College football junkies, man, the time is now. The season is upon us. We want y'all a part of this. The best way to be a part of this, by making sure you're subscribed to the On3 YouTube channel. Whether you are a Nebraska fan, a Florida State fan, Notre Dame fan, LSU fan, whoever you're a fan of, I promise you, going to talk about your team and college football as a whole as we jump headfirst into this beautiful thing that is the college football season. So we appreciate y'all for being subscribed. At number 5, I got Pete Golding, the Ole Miss defensive coordinator. Now, for me, the impact for him will determine how deep of a college football playoff run Ole Miss makes, because I think based on the personnel, both offensively and defensively, they are going to make the college football playoff. I've said that. Heck, I believe they're going to play for the SEC championship in Atlanta. I believe that. Nobody questions the firepower offensively, but now with the transfer talent you have on defense and the guys that you have returning on defense, from a Ivy to a Centurion Perkins, like, can you get those guys on the same page and gel defensively with your transfer players, from a Walter Nolan or Princely Umanmielen, guys you've heard me talk about probably more than anybody else during this college football offseason? Can you get them to gel, be on the same page? That's one. But second, and arguably as importantly, can you win those chess games? And what I mean by that is, like, when you play LSU and Joe Sloan, can you have a game plan in place to be a step ahead? Because I think in that situation, like, we're going to find out personnel-wise where they stack up with those teams in the SEC. But I have to feel like right now there will be a gap that's not quite as wide as it used to be. Can you put together a game plan to elevate your team in those situations, especially on the road in Death Valley? Also Georgia, Mike Bobo and co. Again, personnel, you may not be just top of the SEC, but you're good enough now. You're in the conversation, in the arena, to where I think coaching can make the difference. And then obviously the college football playoff, whoever you end up drawing in that deal, you're going to have the game plan to elevate your defense. So Pete Golding, I think, is one of the most impactful coordinators in the college football playoff race. We got him at number 5 on our list. At number 4, staying on the defensive side of the ball. Spoiler alert, we got 3 DCs on this list of the 5. And as an offensive guy, it hurts my heart a little bit. Nonetheless, we press forward. Blake Baker from LSU. I truly believe that the LSU offense, even with losing Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, I truly believe that they will still be a college football playoff caliber offense. We're going to do our record prediction for them a little bit later in the show. But can the defense hold up their end of the deal? Because the unfortunate reality is last year, and LSU fans know this, like, they had a national championship caliber offense and had a third-page defense when it comes to total defense. When you're scrolling through the college football stats on the NCAA.com or collegefootballstats.com, whatever it is, you don't find LSU in total defense until you get to that third page. That's unheard of in Baton Rouge. So for Blake Baker, what he did at Missouri, which where he was last year, if you're coming up to speed here, LSU cleaned house defensively. Sad but true. Blake Baker, now the new DC out there. He may not have the personnel that he needs, just so we're all on the same, like hand up, he may not have all the ingredients to make the meal that you expect in Baton Rouge. But here's the deal, man. Good coordinators, heck, great coordinators, great coaches, coaches that get themselves some jewelry, they do more with less. The end. Like that is what Blake Baker is going to be asked to do, I believe, at LSU. Now, the massive wild card is how he utilizes Harold Perkins. Something LSU fans have been clamoring for a while here. Something LSU fans have been, really eyeing since Harold Perkins' freshman year. Spoiler alert, I think he'll use him how you would like him to be used if you're an LSU fan. Now, that may not show itself in week 1. It may not show itself in week 4. By the end of the season, though, I think Harold Perkins will be back to a version of what he was as a true freshman at LSU. The reason why I feel that way is because what Harold Perkins does well and how Blake Baker likes to coach football, man, I mean, they are just like hand in glove. Like, it is a perfect fit. They want to get after the freaking quarterback. Blake Baker had one of the highest sack rates in America last year at Missouri. I think Harold Perkins probably enjoyed watching Missouri's defense last year when he got to kind of get familiar with this new defense in Baton Rouge. They will be aggressive. So if you can be good enough at LSU, they will make the college football playoff. Again, good enough defensively. That is my take on things. Blake Baker obviously will have a massive hand in that as the new DC out there. Now, speaking of LSU, new DC, also a new OC, but the OC last year at LSU is now at Notre Dame. That is none other than Mike Denbrock, coming in at number 3 on our list of most impactful coordinators to the college football playoff race. It is all about how much Mike Denbrock can equip Riley Leonard to be the best version of himself. Sounds kind of cliche, right? Hey, be the best version of yourself today. It is what it is, but cliches oftentimes cliche because they're true. Okay, so Mike Denbrock last year, we saw what he did going from year 1 to year 2 with Jaden Daniels. The thing with his offense that jumps out to me when you watch them, it's going to probably look a little bit different because you don't have 2 first-round wide receivers, at least that we know of, out wide for you at Notre Dame. We'll see how high Riley Leonard gets drafted after this season. But the thing with them is they like to swing big and connect big. Like they had 10.8 yards a pass last year at LSU. That's good for number 1 in all of college football. Now, they also want to pound the freaking rock, okay? So they want to run the football, also take shots deep, kind of put that third level of your defense really in a bind. I'm not so much concerned about that because I think they'll attempt to do it. The question is, can Riley Leonard be consistent enough downfield? That's my big question mark there. But even more so, like, my question is, well, what happens when that's not there? Because my gut with Notre Dame is there's going to be a game, whether it's against a USC, it might be that first game against A&M, I don't know, but there's going to be a game where Notre Dame does not have plan A. That's not saying much. Pretty much everyone in college football has a game like that during their 12-game stretch. My question is, well, what's plan B? Because as good as Jaden Daniels was last season, the year before is when LSU beat them, or when LSU beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa, right? Like, Jaden Daniels hadn't even become Jaden Daniels just yet. And so I think the thing that I'm watching for them is like, okay, that pseudo triple option that Mike Denbrock ran a lot with Jaden Daniels, is that the go-to? Is it the run game? Is it putting the ball on the perimeter with all the speed they have via the portal at the wide receiver room? Like, we'll see. What's plan B? If you can have a really solid plan B, Notre Dame's going to be not just a playoff team, they'll be a force in the playoff. Because that means that Riley Leonard is comfortable, it means the offense is multiple, and it means that the vibes are very high in South Bend. So Mike Denbrock, I believe, is one of the most impactful coordinators in college football, and I don't think it's really even a discussion. Now, at number 2, again, another DC, man. Breaks my heart, but we got to talk about it. Kane Womack, Alabama's DC. It's pretty simple for him. Like, I think they feel pretty good about what they have in that front 7. I think they feel pretty good overall about the talent they have on defense. The thing is, just a lot of guys haven't played a lot of college football. There's no shame in that, especially when it's guys on Alabama's roster that were all, if they committed out of high school, part of a top 2 recruiting class. The big thing I'm watching, man, is the secondary. Like, can you equip those guys to be comfortable and just play instinctual football? And that's the overwhelming report right now out of Tuscaloosa is, like, on the back end, this secondary, what they're trying to do schematically is much less complex. And while to some regard you're like, okay, well, is that more difficult to disguise coverages? Will that hurt us being too simplistic? I don't know, but I will say this. Football is a simple game made complicated by stupid people. I don't think Kane Womack is a stupid person. I think he's going to let his guys play free, and they're going to have to play against some pretty good passing offenses. Like, say what you want about Wisconsin in week 3. When you go to them, they're going to try to push the ball downfield. That's what Phil Longo does. Georgia and Carson Beck, pretty good quarterback. Tennessee, we saw when Saban was there what they were capable of. Missouri, they got the best receiver in all of college football, Luther Burden. LSU, like we go down the list here. If the secondary can put it together and not be the governor to Alabama as a whole, they're going to go on a run in the college football playoff. And they might do more than that when it comes to their overall postseason accolades, and who knows what they do when Georgia comes to town. You hear what I'm saying? Can the secondary put it together? That's my question. Kane Womack and his philosophy defensively, from what I can tell, I'm excited to see that. Because I think the talent they have isn't the question. It's, can they put it together? Can you get them comfortable if you're Kane Womack? And the most important coordinator in all of college football to this year's college football playoff race is Chip Kelly in Ohio State. You know why Chip Kelly was brought to Ohio State? He's a good coordinator. You know, his offensive football, relationship with Ryan Day. Yeah, that's all true. All those things are true. Chip Kelly was brought to Ohio State to make the difference. Because we know what they are defensively. We do. Like, we can try and break it down as much as we want to, and we can look at all the preview magazines and look at the stats. Like, we know what they are defensively. They're going to be one of the best, if not the best, in all of college football. They got everybody back. Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau. I told you I love Sonny Styles. I love their secondary. They got Caleb Downs just because they freaking felt like it. Like, Ohio State, defensively, right now on paper, has a national championship defense. That wasn't always the case. Offensively, you got a lot of ingredients. I think you have the best backfield in America. I think you have more than elite receivers when it comes to Emeka Egbuka and Jeremiah Smith. Like, I'm just naming names here because we can do that with Ohio State. Like, that is what they have. That's the luxury they have. You bring in Will Howard. I think he's an upgrade from Kyle McCord. Hope Kyle McCord goes for 6,000 yards at Syracuse. I think Will Howard's an upgrade. At the exact same time, last year, Will Howard went 24-10, touchdown to interception ratio. That's not really what you want. I don't know if that's good enough to get it done, but I think the skill set of Will Howard is what you get excited about if you're an Ohio State fan. I think he is a more than capable passer. I think he's a tremendous athlete. That is a really good runner of the football that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. Chip Kelly is going to be tasked with not just elevating Will Howard, but maximizing him and making him in this offense as dynamic as possible to where they reach their goal. And it's a difficult conversation to have anytime we talk about Ohio State and expectations, because, like, expectations are as high as they get. Win the national title. That's the expectation. Just so we're on the same page, I think Chip Kelly is a good enough OC to get that done. I think he will equip Will Howard more than good enough to get that done. Will it happen? Remains to be seen. But they're going to run first to set Will Howard up to be successful. I think Chip Kelly, if they win the national championship, you, of course, give your hat tip to Ryan Day because he brought in Chip Kelly, but you make sure you give Chip Kelly a lot of credit because there was a lot said about Will Howard and what he couldn't accomplish. There was a lot said about Ryan Day and what he wouldn't accomplish. Like, you make sure Chip Kelly gets his flowers because he would be effectively accomplishing what he was brought in to do, which is make the difference. So, to recap it for you, most impactful coaches to the college football playoff race at the coordinator level. Honorable mention, Dan Lynn from USC. At number 5, Pete Golding at Ole Miss, the DC. Blake Baker, the LSU DC. Mike Denbrock, Notre Dame's OC. Kane Womack, the Alabama DC. Can you keep it simple and allow that talent to flourish? And then the number 1 most impactful coordinator in all of college football for the playoff race is going to be Ohio State's OC, Chip Kelly. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.